We have this question about inconsistencies in the Bible, about discrepancies in the Bible. We see that there are often things, especially between the different expressions of the gospel, the difference between Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, where some of the stories don't line up exactly the same way. One of these examples is the sign of Jona. You know, Yeshua says that he will be in the grave, in the earth, after he died, for 3 days and 3 nights. So let's quickly read that in Matthew 12. We can read that Yeshua says the following. Matthew 12, verse 39. Yeshua says, because they're asking a sign from him, you know, the scribes and the Pharisees are asking a sign of him. Teacher, we want to see a sign from you. And then in verse 39, he says to them, an evil and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and no sign will be given to it except the sign of the prophet Jona. For as Jona was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the great fish, so will the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. And so that's a really good example of Yeshua being very thorough with explaining that he will be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. But then you read, for instance, in Mark 9, that Yeshua will raise from the dead, he will rise from the dead after 3 days. So Mark 9, verse 31, I think we should read these examples and then you can get an idea of what this is about. Mark 9, verse 31 says, for he taught the disciples and said to them, the Son of Man being betrayed into the hands of men, and they will kill him, and after he is killed, he will rise the 3rd day. So if you're not a very technical person, this sounds like the same thing. 3 days and 3 nights, and he will rise rise on the 3rd day. But then you go read Matthew, you go read in Luke 18, and it says he will rise on the 3rd day. So we have quite a challenge here. It's 3 different descriptions. Luke 18, verse 33, he says, they will scourge him and kill him, and the 3rd day he will rise again. So the one says on the 3rd day, the one says after the 3rd day, the other says 3 days and 3 nights later. This is a huge difference, especially if you're a scholar, a person who loves details. And it seems like the different descriptions of the gospel don't match up exactly. So this is not the only place in scripture where we have these, let's call them inconsistencies or discrepancies. And it makes it that some people say the scripture is not very precise, or it's not very reliable to read the different descriptions of the gospel. But rather, I would say this makes the whole story of the gospel more reliable. Because if you view a situation from your personality and who you are, and your brother or sister or father or uncle, if they see that same situation, your descriptions will differ. I have heard my wife tell a story of an experience we had together, and I've thought to myself, were we at the same event, or was she at a different place? And then it's just because she focuses on different things. I love to explain it in this way. when you look at a car accident, I know this is not something we can see every day, but if you see a car accident and you have a friend standing next to you who's seeing the same car accident, and the police come afterwards and call you as witnesses to describe what has happened, then I'm most likely going to explain the scenario, because that's what I'm focused on. This person did that, the one in the car in the front did that, and the one in the car at the back did this, and that is what created this accident according to my observation. My wife is most likely going to say, yeah, the red car went against the yellow car, and I think it's because that man was on his cell phone that was in the back car, in that red car. And the lady in the yellow car, she didn't see that the light was green in front of her. So we have different observations of the same situation. And these are the descriptions of the gospel for us. The one says Yeshua will rise on the third day. The other one says after 3 days he will rise. And the other one says that he will be in the belly of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights. It's the same story. It's just from different viewpoints. But which do we then take as the real McCoy, I almost want to say? I prefer to always say the one who has the most detail. That's the one I like to use as the example. For instance, when Yeshua is asked what is the most important law, then we all will quote, you will love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, right? But that is because we only read one description of the gospel. If you read the description in Mark 12, then you will see he says in Mark 12, verse 29, the first of all the commandments are, or is, hear, O Israel, Shema Yisrael, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, and you will love the Lord your God with all your heart. So in this situation, Yeshua is giving a more thorough answer. And so I say, Mark, well done. I like this. Mark is giving the complete description. Also, when Mark says, after 3 days, Yeshua will rise, maybe it's because he was just doing what people like Mark do, giving the bigger picture, where Matthew wanted to give more detail. Yeshua said 3 days and 3 nights. The same happens many times, many times in different descriptions of the gospel. One of these examples is also the rooster crowing. You see that in Mark, it says that the rooster will crow twice before, or when Peter will deny Yeshua 3 times. And then in Matthew, it just says, in Luke, just says that the rooster just crows. It doesn't say once, doesn't say twice, it just says, and before the rooster crows, you will deny Yeshua or him then 3 times. So which is the good description? Well, all of them are good, just for different perspectives and different detail, and to have a different idea. And that is why it's good to read all 4 descriptions of the gospel, because they might not match up exactly, but then you get a bigger description, a bigger idea. And so I love reading Matthew, because I think Matthew is more like me. If his microphone was gone, Matthew would also be in a situation right now of feeling uncomfortable. Where Mark would have said, well, the microphone of the computer works anyway, right? So we're different people, and we need the different descriptions. And so when we see that Yeshua says that he will raise on the 3rd day, or rise on the 3rd day, or after 3 days and 3 nights, or it's getting a complete picture. So which is right? Well, when you read it all, you get the big picture, and you see definitely Yeshua only rose after 3 days and 3 nights. For sure. There's no question about it. It's just the way it was put in Luke and in Mark differently. Same story about the rooster crowing. The rooster most likely crowed twice, where Matthew and Luke just say it crowed once. The first commandment is definitely to Shema Yisrael, this obeying God, and from this obeying him, to love him. It's definitely that love relationship is what's important in this obedience. So who's right, Mark or Matthew? Who's right? They're all right. The inconsistencies actually validate the story. The inconsistencies actually make that the witnesses are reliable. If you think about it, because they differ a little bit, it's reliable for us. If they were exactly the same, then it would be unreliable in the sense of this is a rehearsed thing, this is just a copy and paste thing. But now it's an expression and an experience that is shared rather than just words that are shared. Will you ever know how did Judas die? No, we won't. Because the different descriptions of the Gospels say different things, right? But you will maybe just get a better idea when you see the picture. The fact that he did die on Akeldama, that's what's important. The fact that Yeshua did rise from the dead after 3 days and 3 nights, that's what's important. The fact that Peter did deny Yeshua before the rooster crowed once or twice, that's what's important to understand. The fact that we need to obey God from a relationship of love, that is what's important to understand. Not which description of the gospel is right and which is not. The discrepancies are actually beautiful because it makes the gospels real. It gives that true witness feeling to it rather than just an academic writing. So I hope you enjoyed this answer about the inconsistencies and the different discrepancies in the Gospels, the descriptions of the Gospels. And we have many other questions and answers that you can have a look at. But shalom, shalom. Till next time.